A lot of Grasshopper users try random fixes to overcome the bugs that they see on their scripts. In this video, I'll show you how I debug my scripts so that you can use the same strategy in your day-to-day workflows. So the problem with the many people trying to fix, so the big problem is that designers who are using Grasshopper try random fixes to overcome the issues that they see on their canvas. They reconnect wires, change sliders, and add new components before understanding the real issue. And my favorite is they right-click, flatten, or graft some things to get things fixed, or by hoping the only problem that was caused by flattening and graft, which is another issue. And this usually makes the definition even harder to read and harder to trust when you revisit it again. By the end, they don't know where the problem first started. So what I do instead, I go back to the last part that I know that is correct. I isolate one small chunk on the system. I check what goes in. I check what comes out. I check what should happen in between, and I try to make the invisible parts visible. Only then I continue to the next chunk and next chunk. So let's take a look at an example related to this. This is from a few days ago, and it used to run really well, but now we see this problem here. So we see the problem in chunk 5. We should have some surfaces, but you see we don't have anything. So let's see what comes in and what comes out. So I go backwards, okay? So what I try to understand first is I preview this on and I see a lot of lines are going in and out. It means we are having some problems here. That's why we cannot loft it. So that's the problem. Let's start from the scratch. This is my surface, and I divide the surface into small pieces. Then deconstruct the surfaces. Everything looks fine. I added my attractor point. I create the distance relationship. Everything looks okay. I get the top line of each panel that I have, which looks good. Then I get the starting point of each piece, which looks good. Then I try to rotate them here as well with this. But when I rotate this, things get a little messy. So now I try to understand this even further. And to do so, what I need to do is I need to zoom into these portions. So what I'm seeing here, I see 0, 0, 0, and like 100 items. I see 100 items that are in one single list. I see 100 items that are in separate lists. And I see 100 planes that are in the same list. So if I take a look at this guy, which is the geometry guy, I see this tree, okay? And when I see the angle, I see this tree. So what it tries to do is basically take all these different angles within that list and try to output them or connect them to rotate the lines individually. So we are trying to rotate one line 100 times with these angles. So let's say the first angle is 0.99, which can be 1. We rotate all these panel top lines with 1 degree. It doesn't work. So there are a few ways to overcome this issue. What we can do, we can say for the angle, we can either say graft, but we see, again, we don't have the solution, and this is still red. And also, the reason we are getting this result, again, we have 10,000 results because we have plane is flattened. And if I fix this, I started to see something that makes much more sense in terms of the visual that I wanted to create, right? So it goes along with what I'm trying to do. So as you see, in this case, the problem was related to the inputs and the outputs. Obviously, the other solution for this, you can flatten them all, but I don't recommend that. And when we connect these all together, what I started to see is we started to see 2 lines on each branch. If I zoom in a little, I think this is too small. But what I see here in each branch, I have 2 lines, 2 curves. Those curves are being lofted to create my friends. So why this is helpful, why this helps? Because the real problem becomes easier to find when you start from the scratch and go as you see the solution. So when you see the first chunk is working, you go to the next chunk, you go to the next chunk, stuff like that. Debugging becomes calmer and more structured, but more importantly, or the most important thing for me, when I use this method, it gives me kind of refreshment. It gives me a calmer mental state so that I know that I control the definition instead of it controls me. And again, the definition becomes easier to trust because I exactly know what's happening in it and how I can fix it. And I learn the logic better instead of memorizing the random fixes, right? Like right click and flatten, right click and craft. And obviously, Grasshopper is less overwhelming. If we are to sum up, like the main idea, do not debug the whole thing at once. Go back to the last chunk that works. Check the inputs, check the outputs, fix one part, and then continue. And again, as a reminder of the framework, write the recipe first, sketch the logic, and then build system in chunks. Test every chunk, debug one chunk at a time. And if you are serious learning in Grasshopper, follow the link in description, book a call with me so that I can see if I can help you or not through my community. Until the next video, take care.